Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Calvin. Hey Brian, just wanted to say I was glad to see you enjoyed Age of Shadows We Are Forever by Ayreon. Funny thing is, I was a little nervous about whether it'd be too laid back for a reaction vid. Anyways, I wanted to request the other song from this album I always come back to. It's called The Fifth Extinction. It's about finding a habitable world after a long trek through space and gripping with the ethics of exterminating the local population in order to make it our new home. Hope you have fun with it. What is with... Oh man. People who always tell me the context of a song is like this super dark topic, and then they're like, have fun or enjoy yourself. It's like, okay, I'll try, but it sounds like there's some pretty heavy stuff here. All right, let's dive into this. I enjoyed Ayreon last time. I'm eager to get back into them. Let's see what they're bringing to the table today. So we have the theremin, definitely giving it a bit of a sci-fi vibe. We have two theremins? I think we do. Nice driving idea on this bass. Ticka-dum, 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 ticka-dum. Oh, that's cool. They put the lyrics up and who's singing them. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. There we go. Yeah, so far it's it's heavy in harmony, but kind of light in writing. Lots of space, very limited layers. Oh, we got this cool moving idea up on the right. Oh, it's moving. It's over here now. That super heavy belt on top of this, almost a breakdown, right? The synth filling in all this space? Okay. And taking that transition and introducing it as the core motif in this new section. That digital sound there for some reason reminds me of like old DOS soundtracks. So far, a lot of the music has been very purely functional, though. Just a bed for these vocalists to trade off melodies. This one has a little bit more flourish. Digging that. Interesting, this section was given to a different vocalist this time around. Oh, maybe not. Maybe they did shift off. I do like this little folk element, but it does stand way out of place against all the sci-fi stuff. Yeah, so neat little 7 idea here. Not sure what it's supposed to represent yet. Could just be a cool idea. Yeah. A very Frost style uplift after a heavy section. The shifting back and forth could be the battling of two perspectives, as a lot of the lyrics seem to be arguments between the different vocalists. Even the lack of symmetry in that 7/8 section could be representative of the division, the non-symmetrical viewing between these two groups of people. That feels like it's a stretch, but it's a read at the end of the day. You know, it's interesting though, this feels like a series of ideas. I don't remember the last one feeling that way. Oh, okay. I like that. I figured he'd be ready to jump back into something heavier. So we still have the violin going from our last section with a more moodier melody this time, but a similar compositional structure. This has got to be the outro now, right? Yeah, got about a minute left.
Now the die is cast, the first step taken. A glimmer of hope lights up our lives. Visions of the past, dreams forsaken, reignite the sparkle in our eyes. We are alive.
I feel like this section is really the only part that conveys that sense of weight, I think, to the decision that they landed upon, which was seemingly to annihilate everyone on this planet and take it for their own. Hmm. All right. So, my experience with this is definitely colored by having just recently listened to the other one and still remembering a lot about it that I really enjoyed. And just to recap that, we have really cool counterplay between instruments, rhythmic juxtaposition between different ideas, lots of counterpoint and multi-vocalist harmony, and that really cool polyrhythmic syncopated bridge, which just completely stood out to me and elevated the entire track to the next level. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link up there. You guys can go watch the reaction to that one. It's another track from Ayreon, and I just absolutely gushed all over that reaction. I don't even remember if I analyzed it much at all. I just talked about all the cool stuff that I heard. This one is quite a bit more digestible in many ways that didn't really click with me. It's not necessarily the opposite of We Are Forever, but it doesn't quite hit many of the things that I really enjoyed from that one. So, what is going on here? Then we'll hit some subjective stuff after that. This song is hyper focused on atmosphere above all else. There's very few memorable melodic ideas that exist outside of the vocal lines. A lot of the guitar, bass, drum parts tend to be purely functional in that they are either presenting us harmonic or rhythmic information. The drums and bass tend to give us rhythmic ideas, the guitar tends to give us chords, and that's pretty much all they do. This is actually not too different from the other Ayreon track we checked out. Actually, it might be identical. I vaguely remember there being a guitar solo in there, but maybe there wasn't. So actually, I think maybe they're done the same way. Um, aside from that, though, we have some really cool synthesizer stuff and theremin stuff going on the outside that acts as set dressing, giving each of the sections a little bit of a different personality to them. The theremin is super sci-fi, just captures that, um, that sci-fi feeling. to just repeat myself there, be redundant a little bit. Um, but we also have some strings that we get at times. We have synth pads that occur. These mostly provide the atmosphere through texture and additional harmonic information we're not getting from the guitars. In a vast majority of these sections, this is all the foundation of the song in order to provide a floor for the vocal melody to sit upon. And the vocals do feel like they are ridiculously important in this. They allow many of the sections to feel like they're progressing towards something. The back and forth between vocalists, the shifting timbres provides us a dynamic element we don't really get too much from the instruments in each individual section. We also have moving melodic ideas where it's not just one ostinato repeated over and over. There is variety to the pitches and the rhythms that the vocalists are singing in. This also gives us that dynamic movement that allows the song to move forward and not feel like it's stagnating at all. And that is like 90% of how this song is crafted. You build a foundation, put an atmosphere around it, and throw some vocals on top. Now, that isn't the whole story, though. We go through a few different ideas. As I mentioned, when we have the theremin, this one's very sci-fi. I don't think there's necessarily an emotion to be tied to it. It very much sets the dressing. It's very much set dressing. When they pulled the wisdom tooth out, I think it did lose some wisdom. But to me, the opening of the song being on the theremin very much feels like an establishing shot in a film to let you know that we've changed location or time or whatever, and to know what the new scene is. And that's what the theremin really does for me. After that, we have a series of metal-oriented atmospheres and harmonic progressions throughout that tend to either focus on a bright positivity or a heavy weight. And it really just bounces back and forth between those two constantly. I believe this is done on purpose, as the themes at play here is that some of the members of this, they're on a spaceship, right? They found this planet, and some of the members are saying, hey, we could wipe everybody out here and live here, and other members are like, but these are people, do you want to commit genocide? And that's the thing, right? This place is beautiful. We could live here. We lost our last home. This could be the end of our journey. The hope, the optimism, the brightness, and the realization of what they feel they have to do. I don't know if they ever went down to the planet and talked with these people and tried to coexist at all, or if they just jumped straight to genocide. But the end result is that some people are advocating for just wiping out all of the lizard creatures that live here. And there's a heavy weight to that. And it's like, is the beauty worth this stain on our soul? And so the back and forth here is actually super integral to the entire song. It is what drives the back and forth between these two atmospheres. It's what drives the back and forth between a lot of the lyrics. There are very few sections where just one vocalist dominates an aspect of the melody or dominates an entire section. There's a lot of back and forth, and if you follow along with the lyrics, it's usually done in a sort of conversational way, poetically done with rhyme and meter to it, but it's still, I've stated my opinion, someone provides a counter statement, somebody agrees with that, this kind of argument that comes up, and the music mirrors that through this back and forth of its styles as well. And so it all kind of comes together into something that works well from that perspective, and makes me wonder if this isn't better as an album track. Because at the end of the day, the song is, well, it's kind of flat, especially once we hit the bridge and we sort of just repeat many of these sections that we've been listening to already, just without lyrics this time around. And as I mentioned, these sections are fine for creating a foundation, for setting a mood and an atmosphere, but they lack anything to really drive the song forward. And so when we get a series of these back to back, it doesn't feel like we're going anywhere as much as we're just in this one cycle. And then we just happen to be in the next cycle. And then the next. Oh, then we went back to the first. Okay. And it just doesn't feel connected in any meaningful way. The rest of it felt like it worked. It was a series of ideas. There was a lot of harsh transitions. None of them felt interconnected, but the story kept it moving along. And you could really feel that it was almost as if the soundtrack The music was the soundtrack for the conversation. As the conversation darkened and they talked about this extinction, it got darker. And as somebody spoke about positivity and brightness, the music lightened as well. It kind of works within that realm. Without the lyrics, though, it's just a series of disparate ideas that are vaguely held together by generally metal tropes between them all. In a way, it could be felt as an extension in the idea that a passage of time has happened. This argument has gone on, and we just aren't privy to the details, though we can still hear the back and forth. That kind of works from an artistic point of view, but it kind of falters from a sonic point of view. It just never really felt like the song was doing anything. And when we came back to the vocal bits, nothing really changed. We didn't really, we just put the vocals back in on top of these same sections we've been listening to. And that's what I mean when it feels just a bit flat. It feels like it's designed to push the story forward, which probably works really well as an album track. Maybe we just finished a song where we were feeling depressed and lonely and that this journey would never end. And at the very end of the song, we have found this planet, right? And now we're going to take a moment from that intense emotion to have this conversation. So a flatter song works in contrast to some higher set emotions in tracks that might have come around it. But as an individual track to stand out, I don't really think it's a display of anybody's vocal skills. It's not really a display of the musical writing. And honestly, there's not really a lot of instrumental bits that are too mind-blowing either. So it's not even really a performative showcase there either. It does, however, have everybody present on vocals, which I think is very cool. I don't know how many vocalists are in total across this project. Maybe the 10 that showed up here sing across this entire album, but I don't know if we listened to 10 different vocalists on We Are Forever. I think we were only at like 7 or 8, right? So this is kind of cool just to see a little bit of everybody. You get a little side of everyone's vocal styles. But like I said, it feels like it works best within the context of the album to have the highs and lows of the album allow it to feel like a break between the peaks and the valleys. And it just isn't that strong to listen to on its own. And I think this is compounded by the fact that a majority of this song is conversational. It's to drive the plot forward, have some character arcs, put some arguments between all these characters, and allow them to figure out what's going to happen next, which probably will have some emotional peaks in it, given that they just wiped out an entire civilization. And some people were against it. I kind of hope that the album pushes in that direction and explores the weight and the guilt that some of these people would have. Maybe all of them. Just others, some might bury it a little better than others. Nobody seems like they're happy about it, but some are more willing to make that decision and bear the guilt than others. And that's, I think, is a cool nuance that's added here. No one's the villain, just some have survival more as a ends justify the means component to their ethos. But yeah, so like I like the song. It just never really did anything that grabbed my attention in the way that the last one did. And it's quite possible the last one is, We Are Forever, is just the most spectacular track on the album, and I won't reach that high again, and I should adjust my expectations going forward. But dang, that song was just, that was immaculate. And so, I sit here, and this certainly doesn't taint my experience with Ayreon at all. Like I said, I understand it might work better within the context of the album. I still want to explore more of Ayreon because there are so many cool elements to it. And some of those elements do stand out. We did have that bit of classical string writing there, and when I felt that it was going to end and the metal was going to come in, they didn't do that and instead expanded it, adding more string elements, putting counterpoint in there. I really liked that. It's very strange to me that that whole section was the destruction of this planet, though. Coming out of that, the lyrics were, well, now the deed's done and the planet's ours, but at what cost? That section did not feel like the end of a civilization to me. It did not feel like genocide was just committed. But I did like the writing itself, regardless of its thematic purpose. And it's that kind of writing I wish would have shown up a little bit more. I didn't really complain too much about We Are Forever simply because the more complex vocal writing tended to carry some of that. But with the vocals being a bit flatter here and not really having a strong instrumental presence, we could have used some more technical elements from the instrumentals. We could have used more violins throughout. There's just a lot of space in here for more more dynamic writing, I suppose. But again, if this is supposed to be a calm point, just a general argument, not a heated one, just a conversation between two opposing ideas, it makes sense for the song to be a bit flatter, to not have those emotional peaks and valleys, because it's just about making a big heavy decision and people talking it out, trying to figure out if they should do it or not. And we do get some emotional heft too, right there at the end in the final 30 seconds. I liked that. I wish that heaviness and that weight had been put elsewhere too, to almost have the bit of doom and gloom in the bridge as the destruction was going on, and that could have led into our final verse and chorus and had informed that musically as well. But instead, we just returned to what I believe was the same musical components in there, which were still this back and forth, this confusion, but the argument was done. We should be focused on the weight of the situation here, and the song decided not to do that. So, yeah. I don't know. I'll hit some lyrics here. Maybe my opinion will change as I get a stronger grasp of the story that's being told. But the more that I think about it, the ending was everything from the bridge on was a bit of a letdown for me. I liked the opening, what, 4 minutes, 5 minutes of the track. Just everything after that went in a way that I don't think worked well for what the song is attempting to do. Let's look at some lyrics. Oh, maybe this was explained to me on We Are Forever, but this is this is very much a long time ago. This is like the Star Wars thing where, a long time ago, technology was a lot better. So we have this group called The Forever, and the song is about them finding a planet, seeing there's life on it already, and debating on if they should let that life die so that they can colonize this planet. Now, here's the twist: the planet is Earth, and the current inhabitants are the dinosaurs, and there is a meteor coming towards Earth. Do they let it make impact or not? And so they argue back and forth about the ethics of allowing these creatures to be destroyed so that they can colonize. And the rallying cry tends to be that in the world of tomorrow's dreams, our future and our hopes lie. That this is the planet we need to survive. They need to be gone for us to strive. And so there's arguments made, they're brainless, unintelligent, lower forms of reptile. Makes no difference. We're superior and we got here. We should just take it. And other people are like, but they are life. We can't just allow life to die. And then eventually there are part 3, which is called Collision Course. This is the instrumental part. And then part 4 is when the vocals come back at the end, called From the Ashes. And it talks about how the planet is bare and cold and smoke is rising, but it's a new age for us to rise. And part 5 is just the narration, a repeat of the earlier, which I didn't talk about specifically, but this stanza pops up often in various forms. Says, now the die is cast and the first step taken. A glimmer of hope lights up our lives. Visions of the past, dreams forsaken, reignite the sparkle in our eyes. We are alive. And yeah, so it's exactly what I thought it was based on the snippets I grabbed from the lyric video. And I just don't feel like the music follows this very well once we hit the bridge. Everything up to that feels back and forth. It feels conversational. It feels like opposing ideas. This matches the argumentative elements going on in the vocals. But after this, I mean, that third part, the instrumental aspect that I felt went a bit flat, is called collision course. And apparently well, I'm going to assume that the violins come in right after it's made impact. And the dust is starting to clear, and we're beginning to see what the repercussions are. And there's a little bit of hope and brightness as they're gone. We can take over now. And there's a little tinge of sadness to that. But again, then we move right back to the chorus line. We bring in the reprise. We revisit a lot of the music that we've listened to, which hasn't really been a feeling of weight or guilt in it. Feels like a missed opportunity to me for the music to line up and be a good soundtrack for what the characters are going through. If film is show don't tell, music should be play don't tell. I don't know if that makes sense, but the music should be giving us insight into the characters, I think. And we don't really get that here. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Ayreon's The Fifth Extinction. Let me know what you thought of this track, though. Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe I just missed a really big thing that makes everything fall into place. Maybe you just have your own thoughts and opinions about it you want to add to the conversation. Toss all that stuff down into the comments section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. You click on that, it takes you to this menu here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today, but I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.